Alright, what is up guys? It is me, your boy Loki, the #1 most famous VTuber in the world. Do not bother looking that up because you will be met with nothing but lies. So, Star Citizen 4.2.1 is here, and why do I kind of feel like people were making a really big deal out of this when they were testing it and kind of hyping it up, and then it kind of got here, and there really aren't all that many additions, not that I've experienced anyway. So I was going through the patch notes, and they said there are supposed to be these new escort missions, but all I've gotten so far is kind of your same run-of-the-mill, you know, defend this ship from these ships kinds of missions that end when all the bad guys are gone. I've only seen those so far in the resource drive. I got like a couple times, one time, I got one of the combat missions, and it was just kind of the same thing that you got from the combat patrols, which is what I just mentioned before. You show up, you defend, and then you leave. There's not really any kind of escort involved. So I don't know if what they meant by new escort missions was just that, like the same thing we've seen before, but flavored for the resource drive, or there actually are these actual new escort missions that I just haven't seen yet. That's kind of been an issue. It has been missions not really populating. Not just the resource drives, which we'll get to later, but also checking my mercenary missions tab. I'm not really seeing a lot popping up there. I only at any given time see like 3, maybe 4. There's some new stuff there, which is cool. There's this new, I think it's called Secure a Site or something like that. They send you to these derelict outposts that I don't believe any missions sent you to before. So I don't know if these derelict outposts were there before this patch and now they just have content, or they were added this patch and the content was added. But these new derelict outposts are pretty cool. They look pretty cool. They kind of remind me of like even more rundown versions of some of the outposts that you see over in Pyro, but in Stanton now. My, two gripes with these missions are there's no quantum beacon for these derelicts, so you have to just kind of warp as close as you can get to them and fly the rest of the way, which for me has been up to like 300 kilometers. Not super duper fun. For how long it takes you to get to them and complete them, the pay is not enough. It's like 32,000 credits to fly all this way and clear these derelicts, and on top of that, they seem to have really upped the aggression of the enemy AI. Like, not only will they come, and the accuracy too, like they are vicious now, which I do like. I actually do like this. I like bunkers actually requiring some tactical thought and care rather than just going in and shooting everybody up. I do like it, but that combined with the long flight and the low pay makes for these new derelict missions not super duper great. Maybe better ones are available as you increase your reputation with Foxwell, who it kind of seems this patch has taken over, like in general, for mercenary missions. I've been noticing I don't really see missions anymore under like Hurston Dynamics or ArcCorp or Crusader. It's all handled by Foxwell now, and the names are different. Still basically the old missions that we're used to, and it looks like the same pay, but new employer, which I guess I don't mind. It kind of makes sense for all of the mercenary work to be outsourced by the same company if they're, you know, reputable and do a good job and hire the right contractors, so why not? Some other changes are changes to Wicklow. They have separated the contracts into vehicles and everything else, which is nice for organization, and you no longer have to play a gacha game over and over and over again to get the ship that you want. You can now go for the specific ship that you want to get from Wicklow, and that's pretty good. I complained last video about how the game has been getting kind of live servicey and some of the changes that they've been making, and I completely forgot to mention the gacha mechanics that they had originally implemented with Wicklow. So I, for one, am very glad to see that go. What I'm not super happy about is the change to the Wicklow Polaris recipe. I guess it kind of makes sense to make that as hard as it is, but I can't help but feel a little sad, because last patch, my tribe of Mandalorians and we decided together that we were going to go for the Wicklow Polaris. But we decided to wait because at the time that we'd made that decision, we thought the next patch was coming a lot sooner. So we didn't want to start gathering resources just for us to, you know, not be able to get the Polaris in time. And now here we are, 4.2.1, and the recipe for the Polaris is a lot more demanding than it was before. So not gonna lie, I'm a little daunted by that, but I think we're gonna pull it off still. We got a lot of good, hardworking guys in our tribe, so looking forward to making that happen. Speaking of my Mandalorian covert, we had a cave that we were calling home that's been featured in a couple of my streams now, and I logged back in after this patch, and lo and behold, the cave is gone. The location is still more or less intact. Like the island, you can still recognize the shape of the island that the covert used to be located on, but it looks like the cave has been swallowed up by a landslide, so that bummed me out. But as one of my fellow Mandalorians pointed out, it is kind of par for the course for Mandalorians, especially Children of the Watch, to have to be constantly moving and relocating. So I guess I can't be too mad. It's just kind of, that's part of the deal. So moving on to the actual resource drive, which is the big selling point for this patch. Is it fun? I think so. When it works. I usually tend to stick to the mercenary gameplay, so it's sort of zen to try something a little bit different from what I'm accustomed to. That being said, I'm probably, just another log on the pile when it comes to telling you that there have been some pretty serious issues with this event, including but not limited to you just not being able to participate in it at all. I had heard that when the event first went live, there just weren't enough of the resource drive missions to go around for everybody. They were like global, so one person per shard was able to pick up the mission and everybody else just had to wait until they were done and hope that they got lucky. I didn't have that issue at first. When I first logged in, because it was a day later, the missions were populating just fine for me. And they were going off without a hitch too. But the day after that, I had to wait long periods of time just to get the large cargo hauling mission to appear. Other than that, the only other missions that were appearing were the small one and the medium one and the more general one where you can collect the resources yourself and just turn them in whatever quantity. Aside from that, the combat ones were not populating at all. I have not seen them since the first day that I was playing the resource drive. I have been told by a couple people in Global that this is supposed to be a feature. Like, it's supposed to be that only a certain number of people can take them, and if everybody else just kind of has to wait until they're done. If that's the case, that is garbage, and that needs to go. Like, now. I can't even wrap my head around the thought process. Let's tell everybody to participate in this event, but make it so that only a couple people can do it at a time and everybody else has to wait their turn. Bravo! Bravo, CIG. Thank you. Thank you very kindly. On a more positive note, and this has everything to do with the players and nothing to do with CIG, I personally, and I'm going to knock on wood before I even say this, I haven't experienced any issues with griefing so far when it comes to the event. In one instance, I showed up at one of the freight elevators when somebody was loading up their Caterpillar and they were kind of blocking the way, so I was like, okay, you know what I'll do? I'll land off to the side and I'm going to use my raft's tractor beam to help the Caterpillar load up so that I can get to my own cargo faster. And after I did this, the owner of the Caterpillar said, hey bro in the raft, thanks for helping me load up my Caterpillar, now I'm going to help you load up your cargo. I was like, that's pretty awesome. I was expecting to have prowlers stealing my cargo from above or people pad ramming to... There's not really a reason why people do that, they just do it. And I expected it. But I haven't had any of that so far, so that's been pretty cool. I also have been, since I can't bring my Atlas back with me on the raft because I can't seem to finagle attaching it to the cargo grid, I've just been leaving my Atlas behind at the freight elevator for the next person who shows up to use it after that. And once in a blue moon, when I show up somewhere, I see that somebody else has done the same. And I think this is super awesome and a great example of how the Star Citizen community can be very helpful and thoughtful and, not so toxic. I think we should make that a thing. I think we should start, if we can't take them with us, we should all start leaving our Atlases, or ATLS, that's what I mean, the cargo moving mech. We should start leaving those outside freight elevators for the next person and just kind of, pass it on. To wrap it up on the resource drive, if you're newish to Star Citizen or you've been playing for a little while and you're wondering how you can get the most bang for your buck in this resource drive, my recommendation would be to rent a raft, an Argo raft if you don't have one. You can get it for 70,000 at Lorville for a day, and even the largest of the hauling missions for the resource drive don't seem to require more than what a raft can carry, so you won't need anything bigger than that to pull off these missions. One of if you can get the combat missions to spawn, one of the most fun of these is a mission that involves going to the derelicts that I mentioned earlier. So you're supposed to land and take out all the guys on the ground and then take their cargo afterwards. But there are no NPC ships guarding these derelicts. It's just guys on the ground, and their small arms fire cannot penetrate the shields of the Argo raft. So you can just hover like 100 meters or so above the derelict and then use the raft's tractor beam in the back to just fish up all the cargo. It's like taking candy from a baby. It's hilarious, and it's about 80 SCU, and they're quick to do, barring having to fly manually to those derelicts, which can be sometimes pleasant, sometimes less so. But I recommend trying it because it's hilarious and a lot of fun. One last thing before we go that I absolutely have to rant about. I have been flying the Corsair since it first came out. I love it. I always have. I probably always will, no matter what they do to it. But I remember the days when you could put 4 size 5 guns and 2 size 6 guns on that puppy and absolutely melt everything that was in the game at the time. And I remember back when it had all that, and it handled like a light fighter. So this was obviously way overpowered, and something had to be done about it, but they've nerfed it, and they've nerfed it again, and they've nerfed it again, and they've nerfed it again, and every time they've done this, I've still been just as happy to fly my Corsair as the last. This patch, this is the first time that even I will tell you that the Corsair is grossly unfun and unpleasant to fly. If you were thinking about getting one, I would pass on that for now and just get something else because it is virtually helpless. It still has 4 size 4s and 2 size 5s, and it can hold its own against things like the Constellation. If you're really focused, you can take down an NPC Hammerhead, but it was already struggling to defend itself against players in light fighters. And not only did they ridiculously nerf the handling of the Corsair again, making it unpleasant to fly, but they also upped the maneuverability of a couple of the fighter class ships. So defending yourself from those is going to be virtually impossible. You're just dead in the water. So yeah. I would just get something else. Now we're at the part of the video where if I don't stop myself, I begin to ramble about nothing and nonsense. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And thank you guys for listening, and I will see you out there in the verse. Thank you once again to my patron, Corn, for supporting me as I try to turn this creation biz into more than just a hobby. If you want to support me too and hear your name at the end of these videos, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. But if not, liking and subscribing goes a long way in making me look good in the eyes of our mighty overlord, the algorithm.